Close your eyes and think about your comfort food. Is it the cookies your mom makes when you get a good grade on a test? Or pancakes on a lazy Sunday morning? What does that food mean to you, and why do you eat it? We all eat specific foods, and those foods have special meanings that tell our story. On Passover, a Jewish holiday, food and storytelling are inseparable parts of the ritual practice of Passover. As a practicing Jew myself, Passover and its rituals are something I look forward to every year. There are two main components of celebrating Passover, both which involve food. Firstly, we don't eat any leavened bread for the 8 days of Passover. Instead, we eat matzah, a cracker, a special cracker. Secondly, we hold a Passover Seder, a special Passover meal, on the first 2 nights of Passover. The Seder helps us tell the Passover story. The foods we eat on Passover have special meanings. They are a celebration of our heritage, and they remind us of our story. To help us remember the story of Passover, for the 8 days of Passover, according to Jewish law, we are not allowed to eat any leavened bread, just like the ancient Israelites in Egypt, as told in the Torah, a holy Jewish text. The story goes that when Jews were leaving Egypt, they didn't have escaping Egypt from slavery. They didn't have time to bake bread. Instead, they had to make matzah, unleavened bread. Because of this, we eat matzah on Passover. Eating matzah instead of leavened bread is not only a way to tell our story, it is also a way to show gratitude for what we have, freedom, and a reminder to fight for freedom, for the freedom of others. You might be wondering, what is matzah and how do you eat it? Matzah is generally a large, crumbly cracker. Because it is a pretty boring food, over thousands of years, Jews have found creative ways to eat matzah. One of the most common ways is matzah ball soup. Matzah balls, which are made up of matzah meal, ground up matzah, is a very popular dish on Passover. It is generally served in soup. Matzah balls are generally served in soup and eaten on Passover. In my family, my dad likes to make a granola mix using matzah instead of oats, because oats you cannot eat on Passover. He calls this matzola. During the 8 days of Passover, every time Jews have to stop and substitute matzah for leavened bread, we are reminded of the ancient Israelites' escape from slavery, and we are thankful for our freedom today. Besides eating matzah, the Seder plate uses food to symbolize the Passover story. As explained by reformjudaism.org, here are 5 main components of the Seder plate: a shank bone, an egg, bitter herbs, vegetables, and haroset, a sweet paste. Small components of each food are symbolically placed on the Seder plate, while larger amounts of some of the components are placed on the table for everyone to eat. The shank, in Hebrew called sarah, is usually a lamb's bone. It represents the Paschal sacrifice, an important part of celebrating Passover for ancient Jews. The shank bone is not eaten, however the rest of the components of the Seder plate are. The egg, in Hebrew called beitzah, is a symbol of the cycle of life, and it is a symbol of mourning for the destruction of the ancient Jewish temple. The vegetables, or karpas, usually parsley or celery, are symbolically dipped in salt water and eaten. This symbolizes the tears of the Israelite slaves while they were slaves in Egypt, and reminds us again to be thankful for our freedom. Similarly, bitter herbs, maror, are also symbols of the bitter life of the Israelite slaves. Finally, my favorite part of the Passover Seder, haroset, the sweet paste, is a sweet paste. Haroset means clay in Hebrew, and it's usually brown and sticky. Haroset represents the the clay, and the bricks that the Israelite slaves made for the Egyptian masters. Different groups of people make their roasted differently. My family uses wine, apple, and walnuts. Those are all the main components of the Seder plate. However, when a group of Jewish people realize that something else needs to be added and shared on Passover, they may add a new symbol to the Seder plate. For example, as the Jewish United Fund shares a story about why many contemporary Jews have an orange on their Seder plate. In the 80s, Dr. Susan Heschel wanted to add a feminist voice to the holiday. As a result, she added an orange to her Seder plate because it suggests, quote, "It suggests the fruitfulness of all Jews when lesbian and gay men are active members of Jewish life." She did this in order to address homophobia within the Jewish community. Now, the orange sits on many Seder plates, including my family's, where it symbolizes freedom and liberation in all marginalized groups, especially the LGBT community. Like all the foods on the Seder plate, the symbol of the orange has quite a bit of depth. The orange was chosen because it is segmented, just like the Jewish community, because Jews can be different. However, they can also be part of a whole, just like the orange is segmented and still part of a whole. Secondly, the orange has seeds that you must spit out in order to eat. The seeds in the orange represent the hate towards the Jewish community. So in order to eat an orange, you need to spit out hate that is shown towards, hate shown towards the LGBT community. So eating the orange is a symbol of spitting out hate towards the LGBT community. All these parts of the Seder plate are discussed every year and at our Passover dinners, and we're reminded of the gratitude we feel for Jewish liberation from ancient Egypt and the freedoms we have today. It is also a reminder to aid others in their pursuit of freedom. The main components of Passover, eating matzah instead of leavened bread, and telling the story of Passover using our Seder plate, and their 5 edible components, are an essential part of telling the Passover story and reminding Jews of their values. As a result, the food we eat on Passover becomes an inseparable part of how we practice the holiday and how we tell our story every year. All food tells a story because culturally or individually, we make choices about what we eat. On Passover, Jews have made food a central part of telling our story. Over thousands of years, Jews all over the world have decided to tell their story with food, choosing specific foods to eat on Passover and enjoy together that have special meanings and remind us why we celebrate Passover every year. Thank you.